Can you give me a little bit of background on the actual story, please? What the movie's about?
Yeah. Well, basically, so how it all kind of came about was Joanna was asking me to maybe ride a motorcycle in a movie. She was thinking she had an idea about a movie that she wanted to do. She asked me about my experience with riding motorcycles because she knew I ride them. So I told her that I was in a motorcycle club for about 5 years and that I was kicked out for being trans, or well, for being gay at the time. And then I later on, in coming into myself, I discovered I was trans. The day that they actually took um, my patches from me was the day that my dad got released off of 15 years in jail. So they actually showed up to where he was getting released, and I cut my patches off and I handed them over to him. And it was a really kind of emotional moment. It was like 2 years later, after I discovered I was trans. I'd been transitioning. My dad, he just like kind of he's got anger issues. That's the whole reason why I was in jail. But he just started kicking my ass one day, and it was just like over like maybe like a drunken rage or something. But it was really over nothing. And he kicked my bike over, and he told me to basically leave the house. I would have to go through him, and being on hormones for for X amount of time, it wasn't a challenge I wanted to face. So I called the bike club, who um, actually ended up. It was surprising to me. They showed up dressed like police officers, and my grandmother was like, "There's police at the door," and I was like, "Who called the cops?" And I look, and there's all my friends outside there. All not my technically, well, they were kind of my friends, but they were members of the bike club. They were the guys that kicked me out even. So they were there to kind of help me. My dad, the second he saw him, especially after being from jail for 15 years, he was, he was really startled, sat back down in his chair, and kind of let us take the bike. And then that's where they housed me for about 2 years. As I got into I'm not 2 years, maybe about 2 months as I got into cam. And it's when I started being discovered by different companies, and I got an offer to go out to move to Vegas to start a career of porn. So I mean, it was definitely a rags to riches story where and we shot most of it in Soledad Canyon in middle of nowhere, California. So it definitely looked very close to how it was in real life. The story is very, very accurate, and the acting that was involved was just to me it was like the best acting I've ever seen on a set, and I've been on like very high production sets for adult time, for like Brie Mills, and I've seen a lot of these actors perform, but some of them I've never seen perform before, such as like Tommy Pistol. His performance it was incredible. It was like it was just it was very moving. It was just really inspiring as a performer to see what everybody is bringing to the table, and the fact that how seriously they took it. For me, it was super surreal, being like, oh, this is like they're taking the story about my life and they're wanting to film it. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting, and then also to like watch them act it out. Like there's some dude pretending to be my dad. I was like, oh, this is it's kind of trippy, It was very, very surreal.
For you, how much input did you have into the actual script and the story and all of that?
A lot, and even as they were there filming, I was there. I was there for most of the days of filming. Some days I couldn't make it. The extras that were there's a lot of the not all the extras, but there was three extras that are actually so when she brought me the idea, when I brought her the idea, and she came back to me with like that she wanted to film it, it was actually really kind of a full circle, because I was out riding with a couple of guys that I just got a bike recently in Las Vegas. It's been like 4 years, and I just got a bike and I was riding with a couple of guys, and all of a sudden they're like they asked me to join their club, and I was like, oh, this is, and I was like, all right, because they're really accepting of me being trans. I was like, oh yeah, told them about my story, and I was like, oh, I got kicked out of the club, you know, and it's all because I was trans. And they're like, that's stupid. They're like, why the fuck would anybody kick you out of the club if they're your friends? And I was like, yeah, maybe they just didn't understand at the time. I don't know, you know. And they were like, well, why don't you join our club? And then I was like, oh, this is really, and it's like, not like a super hardcore club. It's like 7 or 8 guys. They're like super cool. And 3 of them were extras in the movie. So I actually trailered their bikes out there. So, I mean, in moving all of them, I couldn't be on set, you know, moving their bikes and getting, you know, all these bikers situated. I couldn't be on set every single day. But the days that I was helping somewhat. I definitely wasn't doing too much. And even Joanna could tell you, it was like very minimal directing needed to be done because everybody was just so on point. And like, even down to the set design, the makeup artist, everybody was perfect. I feel like everybody was like top notch and doing their job perfectly. But just to get like little details right, I was there saying like, oh, this and that. And I mean, I'm also bringing my motorcycle knowledge, my motorcycle club knowledge to the table. So I was, you know, like there's certain insignias and different types of things that we did not want to display in the movie to offend any motorcycle clubs. And actually, it was a funny story too, because in coming up with the name of the club, obviously because we didn't want to use the name of the actual motorcycle club. And coming up with the name of it, I was like, oh, well, we should call it Low Side Riders, right? Because there wasn't a club called Low Side Riders. And when I went to get the patches made, so actually, my girlfriend Kylie LeBeau, she designed the patch. So the actual design was done by her. That's her idea. And then when I sent it in, it was through Charles Darrow's friend. He has a friend that does embroidery. When I go to call them, their thing is called Low Side Apparel. Like, how funny is that, you know? And it was just kind of full circle. But as far as the script, I was saying, you know, it's a real story. She was coming back to me with the details. There's a couple of things tweaked in certain people. There's like certain characters that were mixed together to make it to make it the story kind of make more sense. Otherwise, it'd be a series instead of a movie. It would take a long time to kind of explain a lot of the things. But it's all wrapped up, and Joanna put it together beautifully. She took a large mass of information and condensed it into a story that is absolutely based on a true story. And most of the content in there is absolutely real, the way it actually happened. And I definitely had a lot of say in how it went down, I guess.
You touched on it briefly, but for you, how surreal, strange, crazy, wild, cool is it to see your own story being put together in a movie?
It's absolutely, I mean, and especially coming from such a humble background, it was really surreal to see, like, even like the filming locations, to the amount of effort that Adult Time put into this. I was just like, wow, I'm like, people are really caring about the story. And it kind of made it more important to me in getting it out there, because I think that not a lot of, I think that Brie actually saw the value in the story, and it's that not a lot of I want to say trans people, but not a lot of LGBT people come from the same background. Like, we're not all the same. Like, not all trans women start out as like drag queens or super flamboyant. Right. You know, like, there are some trans women that end up very beautifully, and they start out as tough ass bikers. You know, and I think that it goes for lesbians and gay people as well. I think it's a coming of yourself story. I think it's kind of for everybody to kind of say, hey, you know. And it was actually something that I told one of my friends recently that was in the bike club. I haven't spoken to him in a long time, and we started talking. I reached out to him, and he was very reciprocative, I guess, is maybe that's a word. But he said to me, he was like, oh, well, I was like, oh, he's like, as long as you're happy doing whatever you're doing, you know? And I was like, well, I'm not necessarily happy all the time doing what I'm doing, but I am happy in the sense that I don't have to hide who I am from anybody anymore. And I think that's the main reason of the story. And also, I think the negativity weeds itself out. If you got friends that don't understand you, or if people are saying like, oh, they don't want to be around you, and you see a value in yourself, like you can definitely make value of it and of yourself.
You and Bree discussed the idea of doing the project. Do you, when you're putting the story together, you come up with specific ideas and specific things that happened? Did you specifically want to concentrate just on that, or was it just how it came about?
Well, it was, so we were coming up with the story of how I came to transition. I mean, it was kind of like a roundabout story, and I was just kind of throwing out a lot of these different stories from the motorcycle club. Like I was asked like, how did I get how did I actually get my patches, and what was the process of that? And so that wasn't that was something that's more of like that's more something like we had to actually come up with, that wasn't like true to story, because like in reality getting the patches is a long process. It takes 6 months to a year to get your full set of patches. It's not like one particular act that you'll get. So, but they wanted to kind of display that in a way that in a way that the viewer can kind of like connect with me even better. So I had a really good story of what I did for one of my friends. We had this character Rebel, who my friend Rebel at the time, he was getting into some trouble with his girlfriend, and I was on my way to do laundry, and I was stopping by his house, and I was just joining the club. I don't really know anybody, and his girlfriend goes bolting out of the house, and I rush in, and I was like, hey, your girlfriend's saying she's gonna call the cops. And he's like, oh, she's not gonna call the cops. I said, no, dude, I saw her dialing 911 on the phone. I was like, whatever you got in here? I was like, we need to get it out of here. So I unzipped my bag of laundry, and I dumped it in my backpack, and I dumped it on his bed. And he was like, what are you doing? And I threw the bag at him, and I'm like, fill it up and let's get the fuck out of here. So we ended up riding off, and we didn't have any issues. So they ended up taking that, and they were like, oh, well, that's a really good story, so we're going to use that as the reason to get your patches. So there was different things that we kind of focused on, and I think the whole center of it was the whole coming of age, coming into my sexuality, coming to gender, coming into who I am as a person, as well as like as focusing on the success story of what my life has been.
Were there any points or anything in the actual story that you might have felt slightly not 100% comfortable about, but you felt they were important to the story, that it had to be told?
Yeah. Well, I mean, doing anything with the motorcycle, with motorcycle club, being an LGBT person, I mean, I was definitely trying to make sure we don't offend anybody in the MC world at all. Like, I don't want anybody to look at this and be like, oh, well, they're trying to use this colors or this insignia or this, the way that they're doing this is offending to us. And I definitely didn't want to do that as one of the most, what was my first thought. But then also, with the part about my dad as well, I was kind of, I mean, it's a story that I feel like I don't want to portray my dad as like this terrible person, because I mean, I don't know him 100%, and I am trying to have like a good relationship with him. But what happened is what happened, and it's something that has shaped me into the person I am today. I don't think that he would disagree with what happened. I think if he watched the movie, he would be I keep thinking about this, that he would be kind of intrigued that those were not police officers. I still don't think that he knows to this day that those were the members of the bike club. One of the things was what before I got kicked out of the club was I knew I was going to get kicked out. I knew that my friends were like kind of acting differently towards me. I knew my girlfriend, she was like telling everybody, she's like, oh, we broke up because she's gay, and this and that. So I noticed that things were kind of getting weird. So I was like, my dad was getting released off 15 years. So I was like, oh, I need to do a fundraiser for him because he's gonna not have clothes or toothbrush or all this stuff that I can afford.
Right.
I was living on unemployment. So I was like, I gotta do this fundraiser and I gotta do this right now. And I ended up doing this huge fundraiser. So he wanted to thank the club the second he got out. He's like, oh, they gave me all this stuff. They got me clothes. They got me, shoes, and his being just out of prison. He wasn't used to all this nice stuff, and he wanted to thank them right away. And I had to kind of tell him like, we can't thank them. And it was literally the next day after he got released from jail. I had to come out to him and be like, well, they took my patches last night at the jail because they found out I was gay. I was actually dating a trans woman at the time, and they considered that as gay. So, I mean, that's why I say gay. I mean, I dated men too. I really don't discriminate. It's not like, I feel like I'm very open-minded. I'm like very sexually fluid. Like, I think like, oh, well, as long as I like a person and I can have sex with them, like, fuck yeah, I could date them, But at the time I was dating, I don't think I would consider myself gay, but I think I was more just open-minded sexually.
You touched on it briefly with Joanna. There wasn't a lot of direction. Do you think that was on purpose because she wanted to kind of let you just tell your story? Or was everybody well enough with the information that they just kind of knew?
She did a wonderful job directing. I think there was just like the cast that was there. It was just like everybody was just nailing their parts. And like I was saying, like Tommy Pistol, like he came to me, and Dante, they were all coming to me, and they were saying, even Charles, Derrick Pierce, everybody studied this script like no other. It was really kind of like heartwarming. Even Owen Gray, he was like, we had like really it wasn't a large part. It wasn't like a lot of dialogue to it, but he was like, he read the entire script and he's like, man, he was like, he doesn't even do mainstream porn anymore. But he was like, I saw how important this was to you, so I really wanted to take this seriously. And he's like, I really appreciate you letting me be a part of this. And for him to not do mainstream porn anymore and to be like, oh, it's gonna make me tear up even thinking about it. But for him to thank me to be a part of it, like it was just, I really wanted him to do it. And Khloe Kay, she said she doesn't do boy-girl scenes anymore. And I reached out to her and I was like, hey, like I have this really important role for you, because she was the first person that came to my mind. I was like, she's sassy, she's beautiful, she's she could play the role. That's not who she is. I'm sure she can put herself there though, and she didn't. And Joanna was even, she doesn't know Khloe, so she was like, oh well, I don't really know Khloe. Are you sure she's gonna be good for the role? And I'm like, dude, she's gonna be perfect. I wasn't there for that day, but Joanna was telling me, she was like, oh, she was on time, she was perfect, she nailed all of her lines. And when I was there watching it too, there's no directing that I need to even put in. There's a couple of things here and there, that I could say, like, oh, like when Tommy was like bashing the door, and he like, I was like, oh, reach your hand in, because my dad actually, he cut a hole in the door and he reached his hand in to grab the thing and scared the shit out of me. So I was like, they're getting like shot with like bashing the door, and I'm like, I was like, oh wait, if you're doing that, I was like, if you can, just reach your hand in and see, and if they could get it, they could get it. If not, I'm not even sure if it's gonna be in there. But I was like, but that's like my little bits, or like, or saying like, oh, how it was like this, and it makes sense more, or we can make it make sense more because it's like this. Joanna put it all together. She put it all together, and she set up like the shots that we needed. I was looking at the screens that she was looking at, and it looked like, even before editing, I'm watching it and it looked like I was watching TV. I was like, this is the coolest thing, like the acting. And Mike Quasar and David, they were just, everybody was just amazing. I couldn't say anything bad about anybody that on there. Everybody was like, it was top tier, and I think that that's what made it go so smoothly.
When you shot the actual dialogue, was there room for improv, or was there a script and you stuck specifically to the script?
There was room for dialogue, and there was room for improv in the dialogue. There was character development. I feel like everybody was kind of like getting into their character as well as me. Even though it was my story, I was like still kind of having to re-immerse myself into it. So there was like room for us to kind of be ourselves. Like there was a part where I was like, where it was scripted out for us to say like, I'm gonna stay down the street at a hotel, and then I said, I think I'm just gonna crash at the hooker hole down the street. Everybody was like, that was perfect. They're like, the hooker hole line, great, we love it. And I think that's how it should be. I think that it flows more naturally, and I think that the day will go by a lot easier if people can get the point across and being able to word it themselves the way that they would naturally speak it in that character. Because again, like everybody was acting different. They were all acting. They're all out of their normal personas and into these characters that were developed, I feel like, over the course of filming.
I know there's going to be an R-rated version and an X-rated version. Was there anything shot differently, maybe because it was going to be R-rated?
Yeah, well, we definitely had to make sure that that everything was covered up for the R-rated version as opposed to the X-rated version. I don't think that people would be missing out on too much during the R-rated version. The X-rated version is going to be packed full of fucking hot, steamy sex scenes, but I think to get the full story, you're not missing much of the actual content of the movie by missing out on the sex scenes if that's not what somebody wants to watch. But the sex scenes are fucking amazing, and I know firsthand because I was there.
How many days of a shoot was this?
We shot for 5 days.
For you, was there a favorite day?
It was all amazing. It was like, and we all kept saying it while we were there, and like especially on the last day, that it was like summer camp. It was like we were all hanging out. It was like, all right, we're gonna see you guys tomorrow. All right, we'll all work till the sun's down, and then be back again at it when the sun's coming up, and talking to the makeup artist about what she missed out on. And it was really cool. Even the people that were there on location, like the owners of the property or the managers of the property were pretty interesting people, and it was overall a really, really good experience. It, like every day was awesome. I really wish I could do it over and over again. Like I wish we were filming a whole series.
And how many sex scenes did you have?
I had a sex scene and a solo masturbation scene.
And who did you work with in your sex scene?
My sex scene, I got to pick the my partners, and I chose my girlfriend Kylie LeBeau and Owen Gray. I've been a fan of Owen Gray since like I actually like started working in the adult, since I had a Twitter basically. He was one of the first people I followed. I thought he was really handsome. I thought he was really an interesting person. He was friends with like a trans person and I was like, oh, that's a really cool guy because he does straight porn and fucks all these beautiful women, which I admire. And my girlfriend, obviously, I was like, I got to get her in this movie somehow. So she was definitely going to be the saving grace at the end when I arrived to Las Vegas, because she has been since I've been here. That part was a little fabricated. So I actually did, when I came out to Las Vegas, I came out here with, I moved into a house with 4 trans women in it. And things got a little hairy, but things ended up being for the better. So instead of being like, oh, well, I moved in with so-and-so, and these were all popular trans performers, that I didn't really feel like, oh, like let's throw everybody in the movie, and even though we don't like each other, but like, hey, we're filming a movie about you. It wasn't. I feel like that content wasn't important to throw in there. Not saying that I have a problem with anybody, but I just feel like we're just kind of all went our separate ways from moving into the house together. So I made but from moving from that house, I met my girlfriend, and I kind of made her the saving grace because she's been one of the driving forces in me doing better in my career and in my personal life. So I wanted her in the scene, and I thought, obviously, when I suggested her, it is a coming of age and a coming of sexuality story. So I wanted to also have. I mean, it wouldn't be much of a coming out story if I was like, oh, I left my cis girlfriend to move to Las Vegas to get another cis girlfriend, which I ended up doing. I mean, I'm trans now, and my other girlfriend wouldn't have really have gone for that. But we wanted to put some more content in there as well. And my girlfriend loves Owen Gray, as do many women, as I see on Twitter. So I was like, who better would it be to have a threesome cam show? So basically, the sex scene is a cam show between Kylie LeBeau and Owen Gray, and I fucking kill it in the cam show. In real life, I've won multiple awards for being a trans cam star. Recently, just won the 2021 XBiz Trans Cam Best Trans Cam Performer. So it was kind of really full circle to have them be there, filming the scene. It was high energy, a lot of hot sex, and it's just really cool to incorporate webcam into the movie as well, because it has been another saving grace in my life.
How many other sex scenes are in the movie?
There's a sex scene with Dante Colle and Khloe Kay. There's a sex scene with it's Tommy Pistol and Kenna James, Kira Noir and Kira Noir and Charles Dara, and I'm not sure if there's not. I'm not sure if Derrick had a sex scene. I wasn't there for their sex scenes. I was just looking at them on the scripts, but I'm not sure if Derrick had a sex scene. We were trying to get most of the adult performers' sex scenes in the movie as well.
I know the movie hasn't been edited yet, but from what you shot so far, how much do you think they got of your actual vision and your idea?
They nailed it. They absolutely. I know they nailed it. There was sex scenes that I wasn't there for, and there was some dialogue that I wasn't there for. But for the parts that I was there for, it was kind of even creepy walking in on some of these rooms that the sets were dressed, and I was like, you guys nailed it. But with the set designer, she was so cool, and she was an interesting character. She was really relatable for me, and then also the way that she designed everything. I'd walk in and I was like, man, like the biker bar. I was like, it was perfect. It was even too perfect. There was like parts of it where I was like, oh, this is too close to like what a biker bar should look like, so we have to cover this up. But it was dead on. Like even down to my old bedroom, it was just it even kind of looked like an old rickety garage that was kind of dressed up to look very cute and feminine, and that's where I canned. And I walked in on the house that we're filming on. The first day it was gutted. There was nothing inside of it. It was just a house in the middle of nowhere that we were renting out, something that we could like break some stuff in. And the second day when I walked in there, the living room, the bedroom, the dining room, it was all dressed, and it was eerily similar. It was a little more grungy than how my house was growing up, but it was eerily similar. And as far as the R-rated version goes, my brother and my sister, they're aware of the movie. They're aware of my career in the adult industry. They're very supportive of me. My brother actually attended one of the AVMs. they want to view the R-rated version as well. And I could tell, like I was watching, we have some behind the scenes clips that we were taking with our cell phones, and I was watching those, and I was thinking that I was like, oh man, they're gonna cry when they see it, when they see some of this stuff go down, like the acting from Tommy Pistol is very moving, and it was on point.
This is Adult Time's biggest project for the year. What type of impact do you think this will have on your community?
Well, first and foremost, I hope it impacts future trans women, and that's the one point I want to stress more than anything. That I hope that it inspires trans women that that aren't starting off with a silver spoon in their mouth, or with a silver HRT injectable in their butt,
Right.
Because we all don't start from the same background, and I think that it is important for people to have a goal to see that they can achieve, and that even if it's something that not everybody achieves, I think that that as long as you know what you're after, and that you have it set in your mind and you want to achieve it, people telling you no, you shouldn't let that stop you. I think that first and foremost, and I definitely, I had another point, but I just had a brain fart. Sorry, I totally lost it.
I'm sorry. They say wrap on the last day. For you, what goes through your mind? Are you happy it's finished? Are you sad? Are you?
I'm sad it's over. I wish, like I keep saying, I wish it was a series. I wish it was a series. I wish we were still filming. I loved everybody that was on set. It was really a good group of people that I wanted to be around even more. It was fun meeting people that I didn't know, and yeah, I just wish we could do it all over again. I loved it, and I mean, even if it's about somebody else, I just love filming with them. It's just so much fun being around them.